歡迎收睇美國專製作嘅美國專訊，我係任敬央。喺美國首都華盛頓嘅聯邦調查局總部裏面咧，設有一個博物館，專門收藏美國歷史上過去多宗大案嘅證物，並且介紹擔任局長長達48年咁耐嘅胡佛佢嘅生平事蹟。下邊係我哋嘅記者莫幹室帶大家去參觀一下。唔好睇少呢對運動鞋，呢個係2001年美國皮鞋炸彈手嘅鞋底炸彈。呢個係電影《頭號公敵》嘅原型，銀行大盜約翰迪林傑。而呢個係聯邦調查局第2昂貴嘅調查對象，人稱哈佛天才嘅大學炸彈客製造炸彈嘅小木屋。你而家睇到嘅係2001年9月11號被基地組織分子劫持之後撞入紐約世貿中心嘅美國聯合航空嘅飛機殘骸。照片上嘅母女兩個人亦喺呢架飛機上，當時正準備去洛杉磯嘅迪士尼樂園，結果機毀人亡。呢啲手機據稱喺世貿中心殘骸當中不停地響咗好耐，呢個係佢哋家人尋找手機嘅主因。美國聯邦調查局英文縮寫係 FBI， 自從1908年7月26號創建至今，從34名偵探發展到35000名員工。FBI 之所以能夠成為家傳戶曉嘅名字，除咗 X 檔案、沉默的羔羊等等荷里活大片嘅渲染之外，部分原因係好似埃德加·胡佛呢一類嘅傳奇人物。
J. Edgar Hoover was FBI director for almost 48 years, which is a feat in U.S. bureaucratic history that won't be repeated. He was the man who came in 1924. For just as he was taking over, the Bureau became responsible for the nation's collection of fingerprint and criminal history records. And that became a key part of what the Bureau did. They were the national collection. And so police agencies all around the country would send the information in. We would organize it. We would make it available. And so if someone's arrested in California, they could send their fingerprints in and we could tell them if that person had a record in other states, if they were wanted in New York, etc. And slowly built the credibility of the Bureau up so that in the 1930s, when the Bureau went after gangsters, when they went after the John Dillingers and the Pretty Boy Floyds and the Babyface Nelsons of the day, and successfully stopped them, the Bureau emerged as this example of an effective law enforcement agency.
A major crime-fighting force is the Lindbergh case, where the nation was stunned in the 1930s when Charles Lindbergh, American aviation hero's son, was kidnapped and found dead. And there was this massive crime-fighting push to find the killer and bring them to justice. And the FBI inserted themselves into this case that was really being led by the New Jersey State Police. But J. Edgar Hoover, who was the head of the FBI at the time, understood the importance and prominence of this case and managed to insert themselves and help immensely, especially in the FBI lab's contribution to the handwriting analysis that really solidified the conviction of Bruno Hauptmann. The 10 Most Wanted program came out of the FBI in the late 40s, early 50s, and it was actually connected really well to the news media. It was a reporter who said to the FBI, all right, give me your 10 most wanted guys. Tell me who your top criminals are because I want to write about them. And so, that happened, and there was an article in the Herald, and, that made a big splash. And the FBI then realized that that was a really good way to capture public attention and connect the media, the public, and their cause, which was to fight crime. So it was then in 1949, 1950, that the Most Wanted list was actually born. We have pieces related to that on exhibit here at the museum. The very first printing of the news article about the Most Wanted and the book that the FBI used to keep track of who was on their Most Wanted list during the time period from the very beginning straight through to the 90s. It wasn't until the early 90s that they actually computerized this list and this approach.
And Hoover only built on that reputation with the response of the Bureau during World War II. both providing counterintelligence and counter-sabotage and counter-subversion expertise here at home, but also even providing intelligence services for the United States in the Western Hemisphere, working closely with the British, among others, and the Canadians to in a sense, play a vital part in the American national security structure. Now, he continued, of course, leading the Bureau through the 50s and 60s, and especially in the 60s, some of his activities ended up having a very negative impact on the Bureau. King case, they were worried about some of his principal advisors who were communists.
多謝收睇美國之音製作嘅美國專訊，我係任敬陽，下次嘅節目時間再見。